Hi guys, welcome back. It's LSP. It's currently the 17th of May 2021. So we're going to be doing some analysis today on Bitcoin and also CHSB obviously. And I'll do a quick run through. I'll scan through and see if there's anything interesting to keep an eye on. But they will be the main two that I'll be focused on today. So with that said, the usual disclaimer, just be careful, with the information that I present to you. Make sure you're doing your own research and do your own analysis. And if mine complements yours, great, but don't make decisions based on what I'm saying. Make sure, you're doing your can't even say it, due diligence and putting your money where it makes sense, all right, for you. So the last time we spoke about Bitcoin, I was saying that, I was expecting price to drive lower. And since then, it's had a really nice drop. I think the low today, 42,185. Yeah, it's not too bad. Not too bad. I do believe we may see a little bit more downside. What I'm going to do, this area has effectively just been eliminated completely. So I'm going to take this off the chart. And down here is the next level of liquidity where I'm expecting, if you remember, I mentioned the 41 to 39 levels, which is where Bitcoin could quite comfortably end up and still maintain its upward momentum. If we go over to the weekly chart, you can see as a much larger, and I mean massive, liquidity pool, and I'll just leave it green. Down here is effectively where Bitcoin could spend a lot of time if it gets down here, between 28 and around about sort of 38. Now, I had a conversation with somebody today about this, and he was saying to me, "Oh, there's no way Bitcoin." Sorry, I just moved the chair. There's no way Bitcoin's going down to 28,000. What are you, crazy? And I said to him, "Look, to be honest, it really doesn't matter if it does, because obviously for him, he's heavily invested in Bitcoin. So he doesn't want to see it down at 28,000. Personally, I do, right? And I know many of you are invested in Bitcoin. And I'm not saying that I want it to go down there because I want everybody to lose money, obviously. I want it to go there because it's cheap. And if Bitcoin ever gets back down to 28,000, oh, heaven. Yeah. So the liquidity is massive. It's a huge liquidity range down here. So at the end of the day, if price continues to drive lower, we have a daily liquidity pool that price is going to stop at. And we'll see what the response is there if it gets there. If it starts to sort of dip into this one, because it's a much larger liquidity pool, what can tend to happen is price will run into this, bounce off a little bit, stay there for a little while and just spend quite a long time accumulating, buy liquidity, accumulation until eventually, you have a catalyst that pushes price all the way back to all-time highs, right? But as it stands, for me anyway, at least for the short term, until we get back above 60,000, okay? And this is for the long term. Until we get back above 60,000, then we're effectively going sideways between a massive range. Yes, the best way to say it, all right? Because this is the key level. We need to get back above this level now. So, fasten your seatbelts. I don't think Bitcoin, unless something crazy happens and we see this explosive move to the upside, then I'd fasten your seatbelts and just go along for the ride, because we're probably going to be staying within a range of around about $20,000 for quite some time. With all of that said, I managed to grab some down here today, and I am looking down here for a dip into this level down here. No stretch of the imagination, really. We have a perfect imbalance over here that price would want to drive into. It's already eaten into that slightly, and then obviously we have the liquidity pool down here on the daily, which again 41 to 39 is the area that I'm looking to accumulate some more. It makes perfect sense regarding the flows and the equilibrium of buy and sell, or the distribution of buy and sell, and which side is heavily favored. Right now it's to the sell side, so there's more sell liquidity being held than there is buy liquidity on the daily chart. Yeah, on the weekly chart it's buy. On the daily chart, short term, Okay, when I say short term, I'm saying shorter than the weekly. We have a lot more sell liquidity for the sort of shorter term momentum, and when you start to see things like that, you can expect areas or pockets of liquidity to be plugged and imbalances to be rebalanced. Yeah. So with that said, I just want to quickly go down to the 4-hour, kind of zoom right out just to see what the structure of price is. And you can see the imbalance over here. I know many of you will be looking at this and saying, what in God's name is this guy talking about? But it's there, trust me. Just as a very quick side note, I'm in the process of putting something together. It's not ready yet. It's going to take some time. I'm recording, videos and going through the whole process of putting something together in terms of a website and everything. So, I'm getting bombarded. And don't get me wrong, I'm more than happy to try and help as many people as I can, but it's better to just have everything in one place so people can go, learn, and, I'm finding it very difficult at the minute to respond to everybody in a timely fashion, and that's something that I don't like. I want to be able to answer everybody, and when I can't do that, I start to get a little bit agitated because I might miss a question, I might miss something that somebody said, and it's important to the person that's asking. Do you know what I mean? So I don't want to kind of let that person down. So with that said, it's going to take some time, and once it's all up and running, I'll let you guys know. But in the meantime, when I mention these levels and I mention, imbalances and liquidity pools, just kind of go with it and just really try to pay attention to the areas that I'm making a note of and go and study those areas. Break them down on lower time frames, hourly, 15-minute, 5-minute, and just see how price moved around in that area. So in this particular case, if we go back to the daily, just to give you an example of what I'm talking about, little exercise to do. There's an imbalance here. Okay, so from here to here, there's an imbalance. This whole area here is an imbalance. Okay, so what I used to do when I was trying to figure all of this stuff out, I used to do this. Okay, and then I would go to that area and I'd just look at a 5-minute, a 15-minute, an hourly, and I'd look how price was moving around within that area, and it really opened up my understanding. So that is definitely something that I suggest you do. So with Bitcoin, momentum is to the downside. There was a lot more sell liquidity being offloaded, dealt off to the downside, and the closest liquidity pool and imbalance, where it makes sense price would want to go, is down here. Now obviously if price starts to drive higher, these are the areas that we are going to see price sensitivity from or at, and I said we are going to. So if price goes up for prolonged period of time, or if it rips up there, or if it goes up, takes 2-3 weeks or whatever. Sorry guys, I've got really bad allergies today. Well, I've got really bad allergies, but they're really bad today, so you might hear me coughing a bit. So if price rips up there, or it takes a couple of days to get up there, and I'm obviously talking about if it does go up there. These two levels, if price goes into these areas, it's going to respond here, and depending on how it responds, will give us an insight into as to whether or not it's going to kind of reach for 60. But for now, everything's basically, all the flows are down, down, down. Yeah, and this is the area where I'm expecting price to go, because that's where the liquidity pool is, and that's the area where it makes the most sense for price to want to go. All right, so that's Bitcoin. Go over to CHSB. Now I left this on for a reason. This is effectively finished now. Okay, you can see, and just to kind of give you guys a really cool insight into how or how I know anyway, and maybe you can pick up on this when a liquidity pool is completely raided. Look where I made a note of this liquidity pool. And you guys know, obviously, this has been on the chart for ages. Pay attention, yeah? Price came down. Now, look at the top to bottom, okay, and look how deep that candle went into this liquidity pool. I'll move across here, and you can see there's a very small gap just here. Now, that first drive into this isn't the liquidity pool at the time when it was already formed, yeah? Here on this drive right here, and I mentioned that first because I don't want people to get confused. This drive here was the first dip into the liquidity pool, and you can see price stopped just here. All right, so there's still remaining liquidity there. It goes again, and that candle or the wick is driving into this wick's liquidity. Okay, if you drop down to a lower time frame, you will see it, guys. Pay attention. Yeah, just if you go and do what I'm suggesting that you do, it's going to really help with your understanding. Again, this candle comes down, we still have remaining liquidity. Look where I'm pointing. The remaining liquidity is here, yeah, not here, below this one or below this one, here. That's the remaining liquidity. And again here, and then look at this. It comes all the way down, okay, very close. Yeah, but you still have that remaining liquidity just there, a very small area of remaining liquidity. And then this one just clears it all out completely, and it's finished, done. Yeah, so now we get rid of this. And if you really want to be super precise with all of this stuff, that dip today, right here within these 2 wicks, will be areas of liquidity right on the lower time frames. You have to go to the lower time frame so you can see how these wicks have formed. And then you can start to pick up the areas of liquidity where this candle's low stopped. Yeah. So with all of that liquidity done, the only liquidity that I'm interested in terms of downside is that area right there. And I made a reference to this a few times, yeah, but I've never left it on the chart. Now I'm going to leave it on the chart so we know where the next level of liquidity is. Right now, this was just another level of accumulation and raid to the downside. Yeah, so it went down and it's responded really nicely from there. Okay, I've already checked protect and burn. It's not been triggered. I'll do it again. What have we got? Oh, it's already up. Swissborg metrics, lovely. So the protect and burn was not triggered. Yep, so everything still looks good. Let me just refresh as well, just to make sure, because sometimes I have a, yeah. So there was no protect and burn triggered, and to be honest, I didn't think it was. I just like to check, while I'm doing it live with you guys. But we've had a really nice response from there, and again, we're just stabilizing. It's going to take some time to kind of work all this area off, and I imagine until we start to gain some legs to the upside and start to grind higher again, I'd expect more of this. I'm not seeing any changes in momentum. I'm not seeing any shifts in flows. We had a dip today, which is the lowest so far, and we're not seeing anything that's changing in terms of directional bias, or order flow shifts or anything like that. In terms of the area, you see, this is what makes it tricky, because it's quite wicky, both sides. You've got tails either side of the market, but or either side of this particular market, CHSB. But if we go down to the 4 hour, I'd want to see at least 130 cleared. So I'd want to see 130 cleared and hold, and then there's some liquidity up here, which is building up around about the 140 to 145. So we need to see, basically we need to be back above 130 if we want to see some, some movement to the upside. This is all assuming, obviously, normal price delivery, healthy price delivery, nothing out of the ordinary. Now, obviously, it is absolutely possible that Swissborg just explodes and ends up here in, half a day, or half an hour. It can happen. We've seen this happen on many cryptocurrencies, many tokens. And if that happens, great. Whatever, it is what it is. But as it stands, the analysis that that I have gone through so far, not seeing anything dramatic, not seeing anything that's worrying, not seeing anything that concerns me. All I'm seeing is just healthy price delivery, on CHSB. And obviously plenty to come in terms of the company and what they've announced and what they're going to be releasing. In terms of community premium, because I know a lot of people have been asking me personally, and they've been asking in the chat as well on the Discord, when is community premium coming, so on and so forth. Obviously, it was announced that it was going to be coming soon, and Cyrus said sort of Wednesday, and then he mentioned this was after the AMA, the week after the AMA, Wednesday, and then potentially either Friday. And it didn't happen, so I'm quite confident that we'll probably see it this week. But again, if not, then whippy-do. There's no real change in terms of the dynamics of what we're seeing within the company or within the token itself, and everything looks awesome. All right, so that's CHSB. Ether, it's obviously steadied off a little bit. This is the daily. Let's take a look at the weekly. And this is expected, guys. If you go over to the monthly, you can see we expect this. What did I say in one of the videos? I can't remember the last time I spoke about Ether, but I was saying this is, my exact words were, this is probably going to be the month that I'll do it. Yeah, and here we go. Because it's getting elongated. It's getting parabolic. It was capitulating at the top up here, and it just makes absolute sense in terms of flows and the dry up of liquidity that this is going to happen. It doesn't change anything, doesn't mean that ETH is going to disappear or anything silly like that. But if anybody got in up here, then I don't know. I feel for you, man. I really do. Because if you're holding Ether, say at 4,400 or 4,200 or somewhere up here. You're going to be holding for a long time if you want to get back to break even, But again, Ether may just continue. I mean, I do believe Ether is going to be going higher. It is strong. It is very, very strong. And what they offer and what they provide, or what it provides, in terms of smart contracts and whatnot. It's something that's going to be around for a very long time. So Ether's not going anywhere. But in terms of the actual tradability of this thing, I'm staying away from it now, and I'm actually waiting for an opportunity a little bit lower than this. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, then I'll wait for another stabilizing point, and I will look to get in when I know that it's probably not going to go back to that level again. So, for example, if price gets back above 4,200, for example, and then it stabilizes, creates a new range, everything looks great, and I'm looking at it and saying, okay, the flows aren't indicating that it's likely to go back to 4,200, then I'll start to think about grabbing it wherever it is, yeah. But as it stands now, I'm leaving it alone. You trust. This is really irritating, but you trust. Yeah, messy. I'm going to leave this one alone. Engine, still confident with this. I do hold Engine. And I made a reference to this to my brother, so I was discussing this, and obviously in the 2-minute video that I did for one of the members, or the community, one of the members in the community. I really like this area. We may go a little bit deeper into this liquidity pool, but the next one's down here, and there is an imbalance between these two. So there's a lot of stuff for this to get through. If we do see 150, it's great buy, yeah, perfect spot. But I think we'll stabilize here and potentially start to see, a little bit of ranging here before it starts to gain some upward momentum. Chili's, not interested, but down here is the only. I basically said to my brother, don't do anything with this unless it gets here, okay, or it gets back above this high here, yeah. So it's either above 50, 55, or down here. Yeah, can't do anything until one of these two, one of these two levels is hit, and that's it. For Chili's, that's where I stand with Chili's. I'll do PAX because it was mentioned in the chat today. Let me look at the state of this. Okay. Yeah, it's a nice upward shift. Obviously, gold's doing well at the minute, so I would expect this to just stabilize, get a bit messy, but I'm not seeing lower prices on PAX now. I think gold is going to do well in the coming months, so we will see how that pans out, and the rest, yeah, I'm not going to discuss the rest, so leave them at that. All right, guys, so sorry the video's gone on for quite a long time, but I wanted to kind of get the Bitcoin out of the way. There's a lot to discuss on Bitcoin. And I'll be around. I'll be around in the chat. Obviously, any questions, let me know, and I will catch up with you guys very soon. Hope everyone's having an awesome day, and I'll speak to you then. Take care.